just like whoever touched the bottle first. No. Then.
Theo, what is on your face, buddy?
Chocolate.
What was that, mate?
What's cool about it?
What's cool about what?
There aren't people on the statue.
Isn't it obvious?
Whoa, they got you!
She loves it.
Okay. You guys rock on. I'm going to make a cup of tea for the adults. You know we're inside if you need us, eh? My MB does that, eh? My partner's forever going, why have you got all this on your hamburger? Because you might need it anyway.
I just made myself at home and plugged my phone in.
That's excellent. So how did you guys end up doing what you're doing? Because when I saw that, I was like, it's a really cool name because people, I think one of the things that got me when I first started working in child abuse and sexual and domestic violence prevention was that their lives just carry on. I remember after I first started working at Rape Crisis in the 1990s, walking down Queen Street, I was in Auckland, walking down Queen Street, and I just spent 2.5 months reading every piece of research I could about sexual violence in New Zealand. And walking down the street just going, how are you all still carrying on your lives? How? And so for me, when I saw Stop the Bus, I was like, that so spoke to that moment for me of walking down Queen Street going, if this is as common as this research says, then frickin' stop the bus because we've got to do something to stop this. You can't just carry on pretending like it's not happening. And so I saw that, I was like, that's awesome.
So recently, we've had that conversation before as well from people who've been through it, is they don't say anything because they know the person and they know that there will be repercussions.
Yeah.
And so the kids wear the guilt.
Yeah, totally. When I'd be talking to young people in high schools, because I've been doing kind of about 18 years of it, I've been doing sexual and domestic violence prevention work. And I'd say, why do you think it's mostly people who we know and trust who do this kind of stuff to us? And they'd like, well, because they can make you do stuff and they can keep you quiet and you trust them, and it's like young people totally get it. And it's awful to think that somebody will use that at times to hurt our children, but I think you're right, we need to raise their rights so they're as important as anybody else. So I went and did some focus groups with parents, and I said to them, so how would you rate your prevention of child sexual abuse? And people kind of went out of 5 and they were like, oh yeah, probably out of 4, yeah, pretty good. I was like, cool, so tell me about what you're doing. And almost 100% of them said, I watch out who my kids are with. And I remember going, so what about that is good for preventing sexual abuse? And they said, well, because I know who I trust. And it's like, cool, I know that your gut instinct's really important, but it is not enough to rely on. And so all through that campaign, we were trying to get people to understand it's not who the person is, it's how they're acting with your children that you need to look out for. And that means that you need to know what some of the possible signs are. So I used to say to people, if there's somebody who holds your child past when they're comfortable, doesn't give them the right to their body, doesn't allow for their privacy, doesn't treat them as people, has an interest in their body in some way, tickles them beyond when they're okay with it. Those are all things to be looking out for because they're not respecting that child's autonomy. And so it was a bit like, we've got fixated that it's who, not what, and we actually need to know what the what is in order to prevent child sexual abuse. And it's not the kid's responsibility, it's ours. It's all the adults around them.
And it's funny that we're concerned about the adults before
Hurting
the
their
children.
feelings.
Yeah.
I know. And all of that just allows abuse to keep going.
Why is it, do you think, that it's such a taboo thing, or people don't like to hear that?
I think when we think about anything to do with sex and children, we seem to have we don't think of them as at all like sexual beings, even though they are in their own way, not like in an adult way. And I think it's so awful to think about somebody doing that. We have this idea that children are innocent and that this is the complete corruption of innocence. And I think that's always really hard.
Do you think though that there's still this attitude that people are making it up, like that those statistics are not actually real?
I think people do that because they cannot cope with the fact that it is real. Like the number of people who, you know, I've had people say to me, I can't really believe it's that common.
Yeah.
And I'll go, well, Janet Fanslow's 2007 research in the Waikato was just over 1 in 3.
Yeah. And
this was a random study, it's a health study of adult women asking them about unwanted sexual contact before the age of 16, amongst other things. So proving to them again and again, international research and local research, and they're like, but then why hasn't anybody done anything about it? And it's, you know, I think the human psyche, well, we know that the human psyche avoids pain, and this is painful, so of course we want to avoid it. But there's a risk. While we avoid it, we're leaving kids at risk. Like if we go, oh well, if you just hadn't been a flirty 5-year-old, which I've heard and just drives me nuts. The number of times that I've heard people attribute blame to children or anybody about sexual violence. And the reason why I think humans do that is because then they don't have to really think about it. You know, they can go, oh well, it's just because of that in that situation. It's not to do with me.
It's the only one that we can watch. We're halfway through the movie though.
Yeah, we'll just finish watching it where you would.
No, you can play a game if you're up here.
We picked people from different communities across the whole of the peninsula, and we trained them up about what child sexual abuse was, about how you can prevent it, but what to do if somebody tells you about child sexual abuse. And then we did things like billboards and posters and stuff like that. And yeah, they were amazing, because that's really how you make change, is by helping people to know what to do, and then letting them be in their everyday worlds, not, you know, to go out and do something different to what they normally do. It's, you know, it's in our everyday lives that we make the difference. Because the stats that we knew at that time were that 16 to 18% of people tell the police or refuge about family violence. And everybody else pretty much tells their friends and families. And that makes sense to me. Like when I have an issue, I don't think I'm going to go and call the cops straight away. I often think I'll go and talk to my sister about this, or I'll have a chat to my best friend. So we knew that actually if you could get those best friends all knowing a little bit about it, how to support them better, you could make massive change. And I think it's true, you know. Lots of those champions would give me a call and say things like, I was just down at the supermarket talking with so-and-so who I've known for years, and they said they saw me on a poster and that their daughters experienced some of that stuff that you talk about. Would you come over and have a coffee? And I'm like, yeah, but you can stay too, because you know this stuff as much as I do. And so then we would talk and work out what support they needed. And somebody the other day, just because when you do these kinds of campaigns, they just call you up and you end up talking about shit like that all the time. And this person said, you know, my kid's doing blah blah blah, you know, what can I do about it? So we had a bit of a chat, and I said, so can you tell me about you know, who else has got access to the kid and the computer, and you know, what might they have shown them? And this person, and my heart goes out to them, because they go, oh well, I kind of thought about that, and then I kind of didn't want to look at it, and I kind of didn't want to focus on it. And it's that for me. It's like it's a little bit like when you know you need therapy, and you're going along going, yeah, one day I need to get therapy, one day I need to get therapy, one day I need to get therapy. It's when it's children, you can't keep it in that knowing not knowing part of your brain. You know what I mean? You actually have to get brave and go, okay, I'm going to take this from my peripheral vision, and because it's a kid and I'm responsible, I'm going to think, what am I avoiding thinking about right now? I'm avoiding thinking about them with their older cousin. Why am I avoiding thinking about that? Well, because my gut tells me that it might not be totally safe. Okay, shit, let's face this front on. Rather than let's just keep it as one of those things, and then when something happens I can go, oh, I always felt that wasn't quite right. It's like, actually no, bring it to the front. Go, right, so what can I do? What can I change? But it will take everybody, and take us. Somebody said to me, because we did interviews in the street after we'd done it, and I went and I said, have you seen any of these people at all? And they went, oh yeah, I know them and them and them and them. And I was like, oh cool, what do you think about this campaign? And they said, when you first asked me and you said it was about child sexual abuse, I went, oh. And then they said, but I guess with this issue you have to press the bruise, don't you? And I thought, what a bloody awesome saying.
That's brilliant.
You have to press the bruise. It's like, it's going to be uncomfortable, but we have to press the bruise because we've got to get talking about it.
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten her. She was awesome.